There's a lot going on in the world right now, but that hasn't stopped Google from pushing out an early Android 11 update, though it did delay it. The software has recently reached its beta stage and there are a ton of new features and redesigns that I'd like to touch on. Right now I'm rocking the latest Android 11 Beta 1 on my Google Pixel 4 XL, but I should tell you, depending on when you watch this video, some of the features that I'm about to show off may have changed or even disappeared in a future update, so just keep that in mind. Also, with Android as a whole reaching a point of maturity, there aren't as many new flashy visual changes like we've seen in the past with prior versions. I like to think of this update as more like a finely polished version of Android 10. So when you first boot into the Android 11 build, you'll of course be dropped into the Pixel launcher, and here you'll find a few new changes. The most prominent one is dynamic app suggestions in the dock. These icons will change to the apps that you use the most, and suggestions will be made based on your routines. You can easily tell that they're dynamic too because they have a lightly tinted outline. And to enable it, you may get a notification like this asking if you like to easily access your most used apps. If you tap it, you'll get a menu explaining what it does, and you can tap on Get App Suggestions to enable it. Or you can also just go into the home settings and under the suggestions menu, you can enable it there. You can also choose to whitelist apps in that same menu. Back on the home screen, there are a few more minor visual changes. For example, when you pull down on the notification panel or pull up on the app drawer, the wallpaper starts to zoom in and slightly fades to black. I thought that was pretty neat, and in the discovery panel, the background is a bit transparent to let you see your wallpaper until you start to scroll. When you jump into the recents or multitasking screen, you'll no longer have that dock filled with app suggestions on the bottom so you can swipe up to open a full app drawer. Instead, the panels are a lot bigger now and you have 3 extra buttons at the bottom. The first is screenshot, which is self-explanatory. It takes a screenshot of the app you're previewing. The rightmost share button takes a screenshot and shares it. The select button in the middle is used to copy text from an app preview. In my opinion, it's extremely useful, especially when you're trying to copy stuff from an app that doesn't support copy and paste. Another really useful change is the power menu. Google has redesigned it almost completely as a hub for smart home automation controls and quick access to some of your credit cards from Google Pay. You'll also still get your normal power options up at the top. The credit cards have been added to Android 10 already, and you can scroll left or right on them to switch between them. As for the home controls, any smart light bulbs will be shown as a slider. You can also tap on them to turn the lights on or off. You can long press any button and it will bring up a more defined menu with more controls, sort of like a slice from the Google Home app itself. For example, I can quickly change the colors of my hue lights, or I can see the live camera feed or speak through my Nest security camera. Honestly, I think this is a very creative change. The power menu has been the same empty, pretty boring spot for years, even though it's really easy to access. Now it's 10 times more useful. Props to Google for thinking outside the box. Another awesome feature that I've wanted Google to implement natively into the Android software for the longest is a screen recorder, and at last they've finally done it. It can be enabled through a quick setting tile called Screen Record, and using it is pretty straightforward. You just tap on it and a menu will pop up asking if you'd like to also record your voice with the microphone and show touches on the screen. Once you hit start, a 3-second countdown will begin in the status bar, and then your screen will be captured at around 60 frames per second with a low bit rate. When you want to stop the recording, you just tap the big red notification. Pretty straightforward and nicely implemented. However, the footage does look a bit glitchy after doing some fast action scrolling due to the low bit rate. Hopefully in the final release they can increase the bit rate, or at least give us a setting to control it, and include the option to record consistently at 90 Hz. While we're on the topic of screen capturing, the animation has changed when you take a screenshot, and you also get a fast and easy way to edit or share it. Plus, you no longer receive a notification when you take a screenshot, which is fantastic. I've always found that to be quite annoying. But there is a rumor going around that expandable or scrolling screenshots for native Android could be coming too. Google promised we'd get the feature in Android R, and XDA developers managed to manually uncover a button that says extend in the screenshot menu, though they weren't able to get it working yet. And it's not an Android update unless Google modifies the notification panel. This time they increase the padding between notification sections, giving bigger gaps between each label. I personally think the padding is a bit too big, but it does help keep everything organized. Plus, when you receive something like a text message, that notification will appear at the top in its own section called Conversations, separate from all your other notifications. You can also set individual conversations as a priority to always be displayed at the top, be opened in a bubble, sort of like Facebook Messenger's chat heads, and the contacts icon to be in your status bar. Finally, you can also see your notification history in detail by scrolling down to the bottom of the notification shade and selecting History. From there, you can toggle on use notification history, and now every time you dismiss a notification, it will appear on this page. That way you can track down stuff if you accidentally swipe them away, or get a better idea about which apps are bothering you more than they should. Google also gave Android 11 a new set of media controls. It's an optional setting for now that you have to manually enable, but it gives you a squished up set of controls together with the quick setting controls at the top of your notification tray, and fully expanded controls right at the top of the expanded quick settings shade instead of having them just sort of floating around with your other notifications. It can seem pretty weird at first, but what I do like about the new feature is that you can have multiple media players for more than one app, and you can quickly swipe between them in the expanded view. If you want to get rid of the controls, you can long press it and select close this media session, swipe left on the notification, which doesn't always work, or just stop the app. There's also a new button on the top right of each media player. Tapping it will bring up a menu filled with all of your Bluetooth devices. Just like the switch output feature found within Android 10, you can change where your sound is outputted to, and you can control the volume of individual connected devices. To enable this feature on Beta 1, you need to hop into the system settings, head to the developer options menu, and enable a toggle for a new media resumption setting. Flip that switch, restart, and you're good to go. By the way, if you're not sure how to enable the developer options, you just need to go to About Phone, tap the build number several times until it says the developer options have been enabled, go back, choose System, Advanced, and there it is, Developer Options. Do Not Disturb mode got a drastic change. As with every Android update, I'm not sure why Google is never satisfied with its current layout, but once again, every menu has been shifted around. The real new features, however, include app exceptions, which allows specific apps to push notifications even when Do Not Disturb mode is enabled. This is beautiful because I tend to message most of my friends through Snapchat or Instagram, and now I can actually know when they send a message at night when Do Not Disturb mode automatically gets enabled. Another new feature is that you can now allow only certain conversations to interrupt you. This includes the notifications that you set as a priority. Before, it was just allowing starred contacts to interrupt you, but now you can enable group chats to override Do Not Disturb mode as well. As for permissions, background location has gotten a lot stricter. For example, whenever an app requests to view your location, you can select only this time, whereas before it had the option to allow access all the time. If you want to give it location access at all times, you can still do so within the system settings. And let's say you haven't used an app for a really long time, I'm talking months without opening it. If that app has been granted various permissions for anything, those same permissions automatically get revoked after months of inactivity, and you'll need to re-enable them again once you open up the app. Lastly, if an app keeps requesting access to the same permission more than 2 times and you keep denying it each time, Android 11 will automatically block it from asking again. That's most of the bigger changes you'll find in Android 11 Beta 1. However, I did want to do a speed run of a few minor changes and possible upcoming features. Let's start with the minor changes that are worth mentioning. First off, airplane mode no longer turns off Bluetooth if you have a Bluetooth device connected. It only turns it off when Bluetooth is not being used. Apps can now trash files instead of deleting them, meaning that these files cannot be retained for up to 30 days. That way, Android apps can provide the option to restore the files if you accidentally threw them away. For years, Android has had a size cap of 4 GB for video recordings, and if you went past it, the video recordings would be split into separate files. It was fine at first, but now with most phones having the ability to record up to 4K or even 8K resolution, 4 GB can be used up in minutes. With Android 11 Beta 1, that size cap is gone. However, as of now, the Google camera still doesn't support the change, so you'll need to use a third-party app like Open Camera to record a single video file that is above 4 GB. In the developer options, there's a new feature that shows you the display refresh rate in the top left corner of the screen, sort of like the Fraps program, so you'll know exactly when the display is at 60 or 90 Hz. When connected to a Bluetooth device, you can now see the supported audio codecs for your headphones in the developer options. This is because the menu now disables all the options that aren't supported. Sound notifications can now be muted while you're recording videos in the default camera app. You just have to give it Do Not Disturb access. And lastly, Android 11 now fully supports wireless ADB and Ethernet tethering through an adapter. Now let's do a speedrun of possible upcoming features. So the first one is a possible feature called Nearby Sharing, which could work like iOS's AirDrop feature. If we take a look at one of Google's developer-oriented Android 11 video, you can see this feature in the Share menu. It may just be a mock-up or work completely differently because they don't even show how the feature works, but there is still a chance that we'll see it in a future Android 11 release. The next upcoming feature is pretty much confirmed, but it's on the developers to implement it. it's a new API called Block Store, which will supposedly make signing into your apps a lot easier when you get a new phone. Signing into your apps will take a single tap, so you won't even need to remember your passwords anymore. However, like I said, it's up to developers to use it before it goes anywhere. Anyways, that's a quick glance at most of the features found within Android 11 so far. I didn't review every little feature found within this huge update, but I'll include a link in the description to an Android Place article made by my friend Ryan Hager, where he updates a list continuously with any new features that are found or released. If you'd like to obtain this update manually, you can enroll in the Android beta program to obtain the update through the air. However, it's only available for Google Pixels right now. You'll still experience a few bugs if you update, but it's not going to be detrimental. If you have a OnePlus 8 or 8 Pro, you can also get your hands on Android 11, but it won't be as feature-packed and it's a lot more buggy. I wouldn't even recommend flashing it just yet, but I'll still include the download link in the description. I did review it, however, on my personal channel, so click that eye in the top right corner if you're interested in checking that out. Either way, that's my review of Android 11 Beta 1. If you enjoyed it, make sure to drop a huge thumbs up. Also, if you like this content and would like to see similar videos like this in the future, make sure to get subscribed with the notification bell turned on. You're not going to want to miss out. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.